Let's watch this one. I'm interested in this weird design. Looks like a rocket. Even more than like normal Formula One car. The Motorsport revolution that never was, the Deltawing project by Project Dream.
Motorsport is an always changing world. Whenever it's time to develop a new racing car, there's always someone who thinks outside the box and crafts something completely different from their opponents. Sometimes these cars are more of a mistake rather than being revolutionary. Sometimes they underperform or simply never get to race. But there have been a few times when these cars became icons, an example of how far we can go with our creativity and brilliance. That's where the magic happens. This is the case of the Deltawing, arguably the most ambitious racing car design of the 21st century.
Wow.
A car that not only captured the heart of the community for its unusual triangular design, but it showed how it is possible to achieve speed matching the average LMP2 racing pace, even with unconventional approaches nobody dares to take. Half the weight, half the fuel, half the power, half the drag, all of the speed.
Probably 10 times the danger though.
This is the story of the Deltawing project. Back in the 2000s, we were living an era of changes in motorsport. Formula One was turning to the modern design of the early 2010s. WEC was starting to shape the iconic LMP1 cars of the Audi era, and IndyCar was looking forward to a new chassis for their new generation of cars. This last point is crucial, as many designers and manufacturers consider this as an opportunity to submit their cars to the IndyCar Association. One of them was Ben Bowlby. He was more than a simple racing car designer. Many described him as a genius, a lateral thinker, a brilliant innovator thanks to his vision of engineering, and a leader for the entire team he worked with. That's when the Deltawing project officially started. His main idea was to propose his car to the IndyCar Association in the hope to see it as the new generation model for the series. The car didn't catch the eye so well because of its unpleasant look, but despite that...
Unpleasant look? It looks like a cool rocket, I don't know. It's very futuristic, yeah. Like something in the anime Red Line.
On an engineering level, it was a literal work of a genius. The prominent aspect of the car is surely its triangular design. But is there a particular reason for this choice? Aerodynamics.
Yeah.
The perk of the Deltawing was its coefficient of drag, air resistance, of just 0.24, a number extremely low for an open cockpit racer. No front or rear wings, no aerodynamic devices, just a vertical fin that enables straight line stability. This car was an actual ground-to-ground missile. The downforce was instead generated by the Venturi tunnels on the floor, copied from the 1981 Eagle IndyCar design, conceptually a very similar car approach to the Deltawing. Everything was then powered by a particular engine, the Nissan Di-GT, an evolution of the direct injection turbocharged 1.6-liter inline-4 of the Nissan Juke, tuned to reach 300 brake horsepower. After all, with a car that weighted half of the competitors, a lot of power wasn't needed. An amazingly crafted idea that unfortunately didn't catch the interest of the IndyCar Association. But it did for the ALMS founder, Don Panoff, who saw an incredible potential in the project. He believed that the Deltawing carried the innovative spirit of Le Mans, and so convinced the then ACO president, Jean-Claude Plessard, to let the Deltawing participate to the 2012 24-Hour of Le Mans, representing Garage 56, a special racing class reserved for experimental cars, like in this case, the Deltawing. Out of the blue, the car was going to take part in the most prestigious race in the world of motor.
I don't know how Le Mans work. I mean, all I know is it's 24 hours and drivers switch after like a good amount of hours, but I don't know if they like allow any car that you want, or if it's very like specific, like Formula One or something.
Racing. And this was just the beginning. Just after the arrival in France, the entire team was immediately blown away from the media, the fans, and the entire paddock. Everyone
That
felt
jet
like
lag is so
something
cool.
coming from space had just landed on Earth. An absolute rock star at Le Mans, as Dan Gurney said. While everyone loved the car and couldn't wait to see it in action, some of the members of the Deltawing crew were a bit skeptical about the performance and reliability of the project. Marino Franchitti, first driver of the Deltawing for the 24-hour, believed that one of the biggest problems of the car was its gearbox, which had no hydraulics or control systems, meaning it was prone to reliability issues. The differential didn't work at all, and as a consequence, the car always drove with an open differential, compromising the overall handling. Despite that, Bobby was extremely confident about the performance of his car, and he was right. During qualifying, the Deltawing managed to get a 29th place in the overall standings, even beating some of the participants.
Multiple category with strict regulation, but there's a special category for experimental vehicles.
LMP2s, an excellent result for a car of that kind. In the race, however, it showed some flashes of pace and performance, matching the times of the first LMP2s in class, while at the same time saving fuel. It was clear.
I don't know why I have this impression, like looking at it, that it would flip so easily because the nose being so small that, you know, I have this impression of like while trying to turn, the nose would like easily lift. I don't know. I mean, clearly it works, right? But it just makes you think that by not being like rectangular and kind of like even in design, it would easily like spin out or float.
To everyone that the car, despite being far from complete, had a massive potential to become something unique in the field of motor racing. However, the dream didn't last for so long. On the 6th hour, during a full course yellow, the Deltawing cracked at the Porsche curve after a contact with the Toyota number 7 driven by Nakajima. A mistake by the Japanese driver that cost all the hopes for the Deltawing crew and forced them to retire from the race.
Damn.
Despite that, Bobby didn't give up and was optimistic for the future races of the car. But that's when the first real problems started to show up.
Funding, I assume.
The Deltawing managed to run a few more races in the same year, and it clearly caught the attention of racing manufacturers, especially at the 10 Hours of Road Atlanta of 2012. During the race, the car showed an extremely fast pace and had a concrete possibility to finish first. But as you might guess, competitors weren't so happy to see an unconventional car of that kind beating the majority of the grid. Some blamed the car was not legal at all, some said it wasn't eligible for any of the classes in the field. The newcomer wasn't well welcomed at all, and
Obviously, again, I don't actually watch Motorsport outside of the videos, but man, that sounds so weird to me, like how insanely restrictive those categories seem. You know, like it's a race, so in my head it's like the fastest car wins, so who cares what it looks like? It's still a car, right? It's got 4 wheels, it's got an engine, you drive it with a wheel. So like, if it's faster than another car, you know, why are you complaining? But yeah, I'm not deep enough to really understand, you know, the logic.
Panoff, who at the time was an investor of the project and owner of the racing series the Deltawing race in, was aware of it. And so, in the effort to mediate a difficult situation like this, he made life a bit complicated for the team. A new set of improvised rules was written and applied exclusively to the Deltawing. Some of the obligations included starting from the pit, impossibility to start at the front of the field under full course yellow, and many others. Despite all of that, the car still finished 5th, but Lucas Ordonez recognized that the Deltawing had the potential to reach at least the podium, if it only would have been classified as a regular car without special rules and limitations. Unfortunately, things went a different way. After that, there was nowhere else for the car to race. No racing series or investors wanted to push for a project that most of the manufacturers saw as a threatening revolution. Bobby didn't appreciate that at all.
LG is like that in so many industries, right? Like, yeah, it's sport and entertainment and all that, right? But so many damn industries where, you know, the big established companies do everything they can to kill the new startup who have a better idea and promise for the future, but the big established company don't care for that, obviously.
And all of this finally triggered a litigious divorce with Panoth, his first and last main investor. That was the beginning of the end for the Deltawing project. Just a year later, in 2013, both Panoth and Bowlby decided to take two separated paths. The first took possession of the intellectual property of the project, and with the forces of his own team, improved the performance and reliability of the car with a new Mazda engine which powered 345 brake horsepower. The second, instead, joined forces with Nissan and produced a radical evolution of the project called Nissan ZR-C, a closed-cockpit hybrid electric version of the previous car, meant to race for the 24-hour of Le Mans 2014.
Actually, now I'm wondering, like, if closed cockpit is allowed, why do open cockpit?
While Panoth had some successes in 2013 in the ALMS racing series, taking some podiums, the same couldn't be said for Nissan. At Le Mans, they managed to achieve their goals of reaching a speed above 300 km/h and completing a lap of the circuit using electric power only. However, after 5 laps into the 24 hours, the ZR-C was forced to retire because of a gearbox failure. After that, the project was immediately set aside to focus on the development of the Nissan GT-R LM Nismo, which resulted in a total failure. Bowlby kept a low profile since then, and shortly after, the Panoth Deltawing became ineligible in IMSA Racing Series following rule changes. The Deltawing project at this point was officially part of the past. What's curious about the life cycle of the Deltawing is that it wasn't the
Man, rules, like, in sports, you know, there's some that make sense, some that, like, are definitely needed, but in so many sports it seems like there's always rules that just really mess with the fun of the sport, and it's annoying. As always, I have to go on a tangent about the UFC, right? In the UFC, one of the things that's not allowed is, like, knees and kicks to a grounded opponent. So if someone is on the ground, you can't kick or knee them. And in other, like, organizations, like in Japan, it's allowed. And the problem that it causes in the UFC is that people who are really good at grappling, well, they have a massive advantage once they go to the ground, because they know that the other guy cannot do that. They can punch and elbow, but they can't use knees or kick to deal with the guy on the ground. And it gives a massive advantage. And it shows that in Japan, you know, without those rules, you know, those would play too much of the ground game, well, you know, they get destroyed, right? But yeah, you know, depending on, like, what series or what company or whatever it is, there's always some stupid rules that really, like, massively alter the way things play out. And some make sense sometimes, but some are really, like, you know, like, stuff that just kind of mess with the product or the sport or the entertainment, right? Like, the biggest reason it's like that in the UFC is because 20 years ago, the UFC was almost banned in the US because politicians were saying it was, like, you know, too barbaric and stuff like that. So they had to have rules like that, you know, like no knees to grounded opponent, no kicks and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, tangent.
Concept to be the main reason for its failure. The car was great, fast, and at its peak, even reliable. Instead, it was the real world of motorsport which made intentionally and unintentionally everything in its power to suppress the project. A revolution it was? Probably yes. Maybe not. We might never know. What we do know is that the Deltawing showed that the spirit of innovation, even with the strict rules and limitations of modern-day racing, is still real. Half the weight, half the fuel.
And again, like, this is so annoying because this doesn't encourage anybody else to try anything new except the already established company who are not afraid that, you know, they can be taken down, right? So, like, any other small company, I mean, they're just not gonna try anything new of fear of being, like, you know, kicked down by the higher company, right?
Half the power, half the drag, all the speed.
What a shame, no? What a bloody shame, no? And again, it might not even have been the greatest car, but yeah. Is that Ace Combat footage? Might be. Yeah. Good story, but man, it's freaking annoying, yeah. Seriously. Seriously. Some things are the same everywhere, you know. What a shame, no? Wish it turned out differently, is what I can say. Because man, it look cool. It seriously look cool. Like, it would be so awesome for some of these racing events to, again, like, not have bullshit like this happen where, like, innovation is looked down upon. And you know, you would have, like, so many different cars with so many different crazy design to see what works the best, yeah.